Thank
That's
you.
4%.
The last piece I was waiting
If
for
I
a little
should
later, so
fireworks.
I like to try to
session,
send things all together and see.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It was
you know,
really easy to
I
read
guess
through it all, so
I'm
I was
not
ready
that
to,
familiar with
I was ready to meet later.
Are you becoming a Southern resident over there?
Yes, I am.
Have snacks?
Just to clarify.
Yes.
Yeah, got the kind of a.
It actually turned out to be okay.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
This is some lazy party in the back.
Yeah, it's cause I'm lazy, it's cause I'm lazy.
That's why we haven't
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, I'll do that, flip it around, cause. Yeah, I guess this is normal, isn't
This is a,
it? Normal for me.
You could just say,
shut up, Paul.
Shut up. Just do it, FEMA, to keep doing all this.
You heard it here, I have permission.
I respond quicker to that.
Yeah.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Okay.
Pretty good turnout following the holiday weekend, so thank you all for coming. Mary Faith is still on vacation, and I see Erin, I think, is joining remotely. Okay, so we'll dive in. I sent the update around that I've been sharing at the last few leadership team meetings. I've taken more off as I've started to do, so it's not a list of everything that we're working on that's been completed. Diving in, so again, just gonna hit the high points here. The job classification study with Troop, that's job descriptions. The draft report for all groups is done. It's not final yet, because we're still going through bargaining, and there's things that continue to evolve and be tweaked, but for all intents and purposes, it's basically done, and we will be able to share that as soon as we have a set of agreement with AFSCME. So thank you again for your continued patience on not being able to see that information. So similarly with the comp and pay equity study, the comparator survey for AFSCME, non-rep, and Teamsters is completed. We have the analyzed data from AFSCME, and that's been in a final report, and that is moving through bargaining. Again, once we get a tentative agreement, we'll be able to share that with the group. Troop is doing the analysis now for the non-rep and Teamsters groups, so I think we'll be able to share that when it is ready, and I'm expecting that later this month. And the elected official comparator survey is in progress, so Troop has what they need. The board is gonna be considering an amendment to Troop's scope of work on Wednesday that adds that work into Troop's contract, and expect results from the elected official survey when we get the non-rep Teamsters report. So we'll see one more report that's basically everything but AFSCME. So that is moving along. As I mentioned, we're still in bargaining. We didn't have any sessions since I last presented. There was nothing in June, and so we still have just the outstanding bargaining sessions 7 and 8 that are scheduled in July. We'll be talking economics on Thursday. The employee manual, we had a subcommittee group of the AFSCME bargaining committee and the county meet early in June to go through basically every line of the draft manual. It was a good meeting. Spent a good part of the day. There's been some edits following that meeting, and then we have a meeting later this week with the same group to hopefully have final review. And then again, we should be able to share that with you before bargaining is concluded. So I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to share the draft manual, which is still going through bargaining, but doesn't have economics in it, so we can share that. Training program, want to highlight here. So we have a 3-year contract with Gallup. We did 2 employee surveys. I think you're all aware of how that maybe didn't go as planned or wasn't used for a variety of reasons. We can't get out of the 3rd year. And so what Mackenzie was able to do is, talk to Troop about getting a training out of it instead of having another survey. And so you'll be receiving, we're still finalizing some details. Mackenzie will send a calendar invitation soon, but wanted to give you guys a teaser that we are looking at September 18th, 10 to 1:30 p.m. Virtual training for leadership that's creating an engaging workplace. So I don't know what the content of that is yet. We have a planning meeting with Gallup in August, but wanted to get that on your radar because I know our schedule's falling quickly. Under ADP expansion, Mackenzie, as time allows, is still looking at other ADP features. She spent quite a bit of time focusing initially on inserting the performance evaluation process in there. So some of you may have been a part of kind of a pilot program, if you will, and I think she's getting close on that. So hoping that'll be concluded in the next month or two, and we will have a more automated system for our performance evaluations. Under legal, I sent out, what was it, last July 1st, a memo about the legal services changes that we're embarking on as a result of the Harang Long assessment. The short story there is looking at transitioning to a full-time in-person counsel. Bill and Joel are confident that we will be able to get in-house employees. If not, we would be seeking the services of a law firm, but we're gonna give the employee recruitment a try first. That recruitment, the personnel requisition, because Joel's position is currently 0.8 FTE. The requisition for a full-time is on the board's agenda for Wednesday, and then we will do the recruitment. Looking at having it open for about a month. And then upon hire, if we're successful, Joel would go to a point or 20-hour-a-week employee, and Bill's contract would conclude at that time. And then Joel would stay on, that would be our new model, full-time, new in-person counsel, and Joel would continue on indefinitely at the 20 hours a week. So I know that's kind of a new shift. There was a lot happening behind the scenes for quite a while. The executive team and the board have been in the loop every step of the way, but the rest of you haven't. So I just wanted to pause there and give anyone a chance to voice comments, concerns.
Is the pay gonna change?
The pay, well, so Joel right now is prorated. So what's on the salary table is the same, except for if there's a change in the market study.
I just remember it being like that position was much higher than the market.
So that's what the last data that Jody was working with had. And so when we go out for the recruitment, which is now, it will be what it is.
Okay,
Unless it's changed through the market study, which those changes will be later. Cause we don't have, so we need to go out for the recruitment now and we can't make a change because we don't
oh, I
have the
just
market.
mean the previous market study looked like it was like way higher than market, so I didn't know if you were planning on if there's gonna be a new employee bringing it back down or if you're leaving it where it's at.
So we're not making any changes to the pay now because we don't have the results of the new market
The new
study.
one.
It'd be the new, yeah,
Okay, I know about 4 people who might apply for that job then.
okay. I'm hearing people as well, so that's exciting.
Considering that it pays more than I make, there might be 5 people. I'm just saying, being really honest.
No comment.
Rachel. Yeah, I for one am really glad that we're moving forward like this. I appreciate the accessibility that we're gonna have, as well as the ability to develop a working relationship. And I think it's a great move, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay. Okay, information services, I'm hoping there's some things working behind the scenes there with some things in the department, and I'm hoping to provide an update too. I'll be talking with the executive team about it today and the IS staff, and I'm hoping to share a similar memo with legal, like I did with legal about some changes this month. Let's see, under facilities, courthouse space assessment, so DLR has completed their work, which means they have, as you know, they've met with all the courthouse departments, received the wish list, and then we have worked, so we have that data point, and then we have pared down where it looked like we could gain some efficiencies but still provide expanded space. Like more shared conference rooms. So a lot of people ask for their own conference room. That's a place where we could have more, but more sharing, for example. So there was a reduction in the wish list, and that is the second data point we have. I'll be talking with the executive team about those numbers today, and then presenting the information to the commissioners probably on July 23rd. So that's not confirmed yet, but I'm laying a bunch of things out, and I think that's when I need to present this information to them in anticipation of a July 28th meeting, which I'll bring up later in this presentation. So, there's no cost associated with that yet, it's just, we need X space, if you don't have X space, you need X additional space, that kind of a number, and then who wants what. Established code enforcement officer, that's starting to trickle to the top, thank you, Sarah, for starting to work with Marlene, and I'll be trying to be more engaged in that as time allows, but thanks for kind of getting some of that work going. On the next page. Okay, so everything in red, I talked about last time as, you know, we had the budget roundtable meetings last year. We've been talking about all of these big things, the deferred maintenance that McKinstry's working on, the space assessment, tons of things regarding financing, the Tiberius work, and all of it is coming to, those pieces are coming to a conclusion. And so now, how does it all fit together and how do we move forward? And so those are the items in red. To try to start bringing all of that to the table and moving it forward as a strategic body of work, I have scheduled a 3-hour meeting, July 28th. It's gonna be a board work session from 9 to 12, and we're gonna start talking about all of this. It's gonna be a very ambitious meeting. I'm still working through the agenda, and I'll be working with the executive team and the board on this as well, but my initial thoughts for the agenda are it's going to be a detailed project update. So if we can dive into the Tiberius work at that point, we should be able to, given where we are gonna be with bargaining, I think. But talking in detail about the space assessment, talking in detail about the McKinstry costs, et cetera. And so project updates, and then some of the things that we've been talking about for the last several months about budget philosophy. So how are we going to, you know, what's the goal of the budget? How do we want to save? How do we want to fill vacancies this fiscal year? Let's get these quarterly meetings that we've been talking about forever on the books and scheduled. And when we have those, what's going to be in them? Those sorts of things. So, special revenue sharing with the general fund. You know, we did that, but what does that actually look like? There's been a lot of questions about the TLT and parks, for example, so we can talk about that there. So again, I'm still working on the agenda, but definitely want to get that on your radar, July 28th, 9 to 12. And if you have other ideas, please share them with me if you think that we should be talking about them and they're not ones that I've mentioned or maybe we've talked about before. So I'm also hoping to get from the board out of that meeting some clear directives of things, some actions to move forward with beyond just scheduling meetings. So that is a lot of my focus this month, is just trying to make sure that that is a very productive meeting. Under communication, so when I was first appointed CAO, I met with the departments to just hear from all of you about what you thought about the central services, what's going on in your departments, etc. I found that to be very valuable. I hope you did too. And I wanted to, Isabel's gonna be scheduling some meetings if you're available at the end of July, early August, to do a similar check-in, because it's kind of long. We work together on a lot of stuff, but not necessarily thinking about higher level things. So I wanna hear from you all about how things are working, especially with regard to central services. So that'll be coming up. And then in August, I'm looking at, there's been a lot of changes, and hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit about bargaining in August. I want to do an all staff email because the leadership has been pretty well versed on things, but maybe not all staff. So we'll draft that carefully, but I feel compelled to share with the broader organization a lot of the things that we're doing. Okay, let's see. Under executive team deliberation, there's the tasks there that will be, or the items there that we're gonna be talking about today. Under VOC annual strategic plan, central services CAO review, in the board order 24-066 that adopted the CAO job description and established the probationary period, it says that the probationary period for central services and the CAO position goes from December 1/24 to December 1/25. This was a huge shift. We were taking a leap. There was a lot of unknowns, and we wanted to build in a probationary period for the board to review and not just assume it was working and there was gonna be no changes going forward. Or just assuming that it would be permanent. So we built in that probationary period, and that order also states that in August, no later than August, the board would review it. So I'll be talking with the board about how they want to undergo that review, and determine whether or not they're in a position to, in fact, make central services and the CAO position permanent. So that's coming up in August. And I think that is it. Anything else you'd like to talk about on here, or any other questions for me?
Did the space assessment, was part of it, did it say maybe this office could switch with this office, or is it?
Not there yet.
No.
It can.
Okay.
But we're not there yet. Right now, it's just purely numbers and not a strategy to accomplish them.
Got it.
That's what, later this month, I need the board's direction. Okay, here's the numbers.
Mhm.
What do you wanna do with that? Do you want me to look at who's going where, or do we need to look at a different building? And then that, who's going where? Yeah. We're getting closer to that.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Anybody online? Okay, roundtable updates. Thea?
All right, I don't, sorry, my second time, so I'm not really exactly prepared this morning. I want to jump on Dawn's summer reading program. I want to present a challenge to the leadership team. There is a really fabulous book called Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara, Guidara. I would love for you and your team, all of them, right, to participate in exploring that book together, and then we can send out some discussion questions and for you and your teams to work on that, because it's a really brilliant book. It's focused around the restaurant industry, but it's really about how do we make really impactful teams where we're serving the people that we serve the best we can, as well as our own team members, right, within that team. So anyway, that's my little unofficial challenge for everybody to work on.
You said it's called Unreasonable Hospitality?
Unreasonable hospitality. And Rachel just went through the whole slew of everything that my team is working on right now. Do you guys have any questions for me at this point? No, okay.
Me? Hi, I made it in person. It's busy court Monday, so I have to run out at 10. And for those who don't know me at the table, I'm Aubrey Olson. I'm the district attorney here. Our team is kind of rocking and rolling. We're fully staffed. We're really pleased with our latest hires. We've had a couple bumps in the road as far as getting our team fully staffed and finding people that are gonna maybe be there for the long haul. But really impressed with our team so far, which is wonderful and allows me to actually get to meetings like this when I have a full team, which is nice. One of the biggest things to report on, I guess, is the new medical examiner program, the medical legal death investigator program that's part of that. It's just kind of been a big role that I've had to undertake just because statutorily I have a hand in death investigations. So even though a lot of it's a public health function, it's all, the ME program has always been under my budget. And so Dr. Betlinski officially retired last week. He's very happy, and from what I hear, he's dancing abominably, is what he said. We're actually going to be, we are sending out invitations to come. But mark your calendars, July 31st, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. I just got that confirmed this morning, finally with Dr. B, as far as him being available, but we are planning a small retirement party for, I say small, I don't know if it's actually gonna be small, but there will be a retirement party for him. So invitations to come. He has been serving, he served our county since July of 1979 in that role, so it's an unbelievable amount of time. Wild for me as a district attorney, because I've read back some cold cases that we have, like really, really old, in my opinion. You have to realize I was born in 1979, so Dr. B literally has been the medical examiner here my entire life. But it's wild to go back and read these cold cases that are just so outdated, you know, old teletype reports and everything. Like, these people who were on the scene are long since gone, and then there's Dr. B's name. I'm just like, whoa. So it's a pretty big deal, and we're moving into a new era. Other counties have adopted this medical legal death investigator program. It's where we have the medical examiner who is really an administrative position, and other people actually go out and conduct the investigations. Dr. B was a one-man show. He did the death investigations out on scene. He'd get called out at 3 o'clock in the morning. Go up to remote sites, you know, you name it, he was there. We were having a really hard time. It took us 2 years to figure out what to do for his, because he told me pretty early on in my time as DA that he wanted to retire. So basically that's what, we followed the advice of our chief medical examiner with the state and moved along with this program. So we hired a chief MDI. She's been working with us for a little over a month now, about a month and a half. She's really hit the ground running. I'm really impressed with her. She came to us with 16 years of experience as a board certified death investigator. So she's out there just hitting the ground running with building this program, just doing a great job. And it's my understanding that we are working through the contract process because we still need an ME. So technically right now that's me by statute, which is just a little weird to me because I have very minimal medical training. I have a lot of law enforcement training, so I think I know enough to stumble through a death investigation if I have to, but and also just working with the chief medical examiner on exactly what does the medical examiner do. I've never signed a death certificate. Anyway, but I understand we're in the process of getting those contracts signed, or a contract signed, and also collaborates with the health department. And I can't thank enough Rocky and Marlene for reaching out, because they were in the same boat as me. We need a local health officer, and they were able to reach out to their counterparts in other counties, and we're working on a multi-county contract, so that all of our needs will be met. So I think it's really cool. I don't know that I would have thought to go that route, so really impressed with that. So that's not exactly district attorney office related, but it's what has been the biggest change for my office and what we've been working on. And it makes sense, it fits, so I'm very excited about it, excited to see the process move forward, excited about some of the ideas that our chief MDI has for moving this program forward. Not as excited about having to prepare for a meeting with the Board of Commissioners when it comes to asking for stuff that she thinks will help the program. So, but that's to come. So thanks for everybody, and we'll just keep rocking and rolling, and looking forward to a really busy summer.
This summer, in spring, we've probably kicked out more contracts than several years combined. So Isabel and Rachel, appreciate all the help with that. It's been a very, very busy, and that will wrap up the last of our December 2015 storm events. So the declared FEMA disaster that happened to us back in December of 2015. So that should wrap that up. A couple more declared disasters since then that we're working through. A couple things that are going to impact some of you. We have 2 bridges that are under construction on Miami Foley, Dick Creek and Dry Creek up around Milepost 8. That one we will still have a couple days left where we need to shut the entire road down. So that'll be pushed out there to the group. Myrtle Creek, which is on Kilchis River Road, that will be under construction. The contractor's actually moved out there. There's a bypass road. We worked with Parks on that one. We got a bypass. We will still end up with limited road closure on that one, but not very long. So we were able to come up with a creative solution so we didn't have to shut the road down for any extended period of time, which will help Parks out quite a bit. When we get through here, Bay Ocean Road, last summer, if you recall, we built the bridge out there. This upcoming summer, we will also build a bridge. Bay Ocean will be closed approximately from August 4th to September 4th, with a bypass route over the top of Cape Mears Loop to access Cape Mears, and then also the Dyke Road. That one in particular for emergency response will be a bypass lane through there, but it won't be a full bypass. We wanted to get started a little earlier. DSL, we had some issues with that. We actually had the Coast Guard involved. It's a little tiny creek, but we still had to get buy off on the Coast Guard. So that takes 4 bridges that are currently under construction this summer. The weed spray, as you've noticed that we have a lot of weeds growing up on the side of the road. That's last year and this year we were contracted to go through the process. Weren't actually contracted this year. We were really close to getting a contract, and then our weed spray person decided that he no longer wanted to spray weeds. That left us in a little bit of a lurch. By the time we were able to get, we looked at Lincoln County to come in and bail us out with that. By the time we were getting that almost ready to pull the trigger, the weeds, we had a growth spurt. So now that we've got so many weeds out there, you're essentially, the weed spray isn't going to be very effective. So the mowers have been out pretty extensive. You hear the term mower, it's a John Deere and a tractor with a big mower head out there. So we've been struggling to keep up with that. So it's, we don't have adequate mowers or operators. And we are currently today, actually tomorrow is the first day of our official paving project. Trask River Road at Olson and 3rd Street is currently being ground. So we've got a grinder that we're actually lowering the road, as well as some of the roads coming into lowering that intersection. Can't simply pave over the top of that because as we elevate the road, we cause drainage problems. So Trask River Road will be, we plan on keeping that intersection open. So you'll still see some, you'll still see 20-minute delays, et cetera, going through that intersection. Prior to that, normally we get started a little earlier in the year. We've been fairly aggressive in trying to do some pothole repair. Going out with coal patch, it just doesn't last. So we've got hot asphalt that we've been putting on the ground. Didn't quite catch up with as much as we wanted to, but possibly in the fall we'll be hitting that again. So that gives us a little bit less time that we have to go out and fix potholes that are recurring every single year. So we should see a marked improvement on the number of pothole complaints that we receive. And with that, we also see a drastic, a reduction in the threat of the number of lawsuits because of potholes, and also our CIS claims. One of the big things is the Kilchis House Drainage Project, now called the Fairgrounds Drainage Project. Went out for bid. We've got good quotes. The dollar amount is pretty good. Going through that process, so hopefully that is done. We've got fair. That's going to impact that. So the work is going right through the middle of where everybody parks for the fair. So we've got limited what we can do. So that's partly driving that schedule. The next thing that drives that schedule is rain. Everything underground gets saturated with the amount of water that accumulates in that field. So we've got some fairly interesting time frames as we go through that. I did notice that Justin Weiss is online. He'll give an update on some exciting opportunities that are coming up with a couple construction projects and the latest and greatest in our recycling program that's coming out. everybody's aware that ODOT and the big ticket amount for increase in fees on gas tax, vehicle registration, a whole variety. The funding mechanism for ODOT is the same as the funding mechanisms for the Public Works Department. Fortunately, over the years, we have cut our services. In the past, we used to have 50 people. We are budgeted for 25 people. That reduction, ODOT is looking at laying off 600 people. That does not affect the road department because we were already cut everybody off. In the past, we've had a couple rounds of layoffs a while back. So that does not actually impact us. I anticipate a special meeting, special legislative session, I'm guessing September, October, where the legislature has to deal with some of the fall on the how to actually fund ODOT. As you're probably aware, if you heard me say it before, we are primarily funded by the gas tax. We don't get property tax. So when everybody complains that, well, my property tax is paying for this, the answer to that is great, it's not paying for the roads. If you're a second homeowner, TLT really helps out significantly. That is the latest and greatest update. Randy does have some updates on FEMA as well.
I do?
Yes, you do.
Oh, okay.
You're welcome.
What he's referring to is that due to our flooding disaster of last year, we were able to obtain 2 different FEMA grants that we've applied for, and it's been passed through the state. We're now waiting for the state to send their recommendations off to FEMA to be approved. The first project was the Holden Creek project to get money to do some pre-planning for that. And hopefully we'll be able to get that project started here in the near future. The other one is a flood sensor project that Chris came up with, that we can actually monitor the water level on the Fraser Road, and we'll be able to go ahead and have little flashing signs that says enter at your own peril. That will save Chris a lot of time in sending people down there to check, taking down flashing signs and everything else, so it's a great project there. Because it's a FEMA, we're giving them about the 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th time information to update the application. We've got one more again to do. This should be our last time we give them the same information again, because it's due to FEMA on the 10th from the state. But because the state has recommended and approved those applications, it will go through FEMA. Everything else, everything you've heard does not affect these 2 grants. They are funded, and so we're not worried about that. So we're just waiting to see what happens there, so I asked them a timeline, and they're still looking at, once it gets to FEMA, their typical 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So we're hoping that maybe by this fall we'll be able to get started. Maybe before we start getting king tides and flooding on the Fraser again. So that's there. Speaking of the FEMA, I rely on 2 specific FEMA grants. One is the EMPG Emergency Management Manager's Performance Grant. That was under question, but it is being funded for next year. That's one that we can do a cost share on my salary, which is kind of nice. The other one is our Homeland Security Grant. It is also not on the chopping block. It will be funded again. So at least the 2 FEMA grants that I deal with specifically are still being funded, and so that's a good thing. The Spire grant, which is equipment, is a state grant, so that did not be affected. The one I'm not sure of. We had it was through the Department of Human Services with ORM, the Office of Resilience Emergency Management. It was the Resiliency Hub grants of the $10 million that some of us are familiar with. I'm not sure, I haven't heard the last thing whether or not that passed or not for funding for next year, but we'll wait and see. On the local front, we've been full steam ahead on an energy resiliency plan that was being paid for through a grant through the Department of Energy. We ended up getting an extension so we can wait till the end of December to do that, because we got the money fairly late, and we're still really trying to pry information from our public on having input into that plan. We had a open house for 3 hours, free ice cream. We had one person show up out of how many? 26,000 in the county. So, you know, I'm not sure why the public is so not responsive in that. Everybody seems to think it's a great idea to have an energy resiliency plan, but when we ask for their input, we're having problems. So now we're gonna try to hit farmers markets, they're gonna be at the fair, the consulting firm, to try to pry that information out of the public. And we're trying everything we can do to do it.
I could put you on the agendas for the CACs,
What's that?
our citizen advisory
Okay,
committees.
yeah, let's do that. Do that and we'll try to, because we've tried everything. Anne has really pushed hard with the public stuff being out there with flyers, with, she's been on the radio half a dozen times and everything, trying to get that information. And it's sad because we really would like to have public information, public input on that plan, and not just from businesses and that. But, you know, it'll be a great plan no matter what. So we're really moving forward on that. One thing about it is that there's not a lot of these plans in the county, and we'll probably be the first county to actually have a full-blown resiliency plan. So that's really prompting our consultant to do a damn good job, because that'll make her and her company look extremely good if we can get a good plan out. So it's really going well, and I'm happy with what's going on. We have a lot of good input from the Tillamook PUD, since they're our main energy source, and they've been tremendous in helping us go forward. We've been working with our GIS people with trying to get some additional mapping for them in the county. I think we're finally getting there, so that'll be fun. The other plan that is coming to an end is it's an emergency response plan, but it's geared towards hazmat material. And that's also through another grant, and that should be done here shortly. And with that, we also got funding to put on a tabletop exercise for review of that plan and to test the plan and see if any more tweaks need to be done. The people who will be doing that tabletop exercise is the same company that is doing the plan. So it'll be really nice to get that done and written. It's required by law that we have those types of plans within the county, and it's part of the local emergency preparedness committee, which is LEPC, which anyway, it's just another great committee to have that's mandated by the State Fire Marshal's office. So luckily we've been getting funding to meet those mandates. The other thing with that, personally, I wanted to put on a full-scale hazmat exercise. They had one similar to that about 10 years ago, but it wasn't, I consider full scale, because it was just fire departments and the creamery, and that's not full scale. We're gonna be involving health departments, law enforcement, a few different state and federal agencies, and have a great big wonderful full scale exercise. And we've already got commitment from Oregon Health Authority, from our public health people, from the sheriff's office, state police, and the hospital. So it'll be great, and I was looking at trying to find funding to do that, because it's quite expensive, but I just found out that we got approved through FEMA to have their FEMA training team come in and put on that exercise for us, which is about $100,000 worth of training. That did not get cut either. So luckily everything I'm dealing with hasn't been cut, so it hasn't really affected us. So that's gonna be really fun. I was trying to get some other funding from the Fire Marshal's office to do that, but it turned out that I finally found that out last week, that FEMA has approved it, so we'll start doing that, and that'll be 2026 that we'll be doing that, and it'll be fun. It's gonna be really involved. We may even involve the road department, I don't know. But we're gonna try to get as many people involved, because it's not just for a hazardous material response, but that'll also test our response as a group for any other types of emergencies, and then how we're gonna respond and how we're gonna deal with it. So it should be pretty fun. And I've heard great things about this FEMA training team, because they're definitely know what they're doing, and they bring in a lot of expertise. And because it's FEMA coming in, a lot of people like to participate and be part of it because of who they are and that, so that'll be kind of a great exercise. I am losing Ann at the end of this month. She's been my emergency preparedness coordinator and working a lot with our local preparedness groups. Luckily enough, I think I've got funding in the budget to hire somebody part-time on a contracting basis to help do that kind of work for us in the future. And so that we'll be able to just do it. I tried to keep Ann, but she thinks she needs to go back and get a master's degree for some strange reason. Go to school instead of make money, I don't know.
It's overrated.
It's definitely, I've attested that, it's definitely overrated, but I could, she's still young and figures that she's got other stuff that she would like to do than make money, so, but that's okay, do that. The other thing too is that a lot of you are familiar with our Great American Shakeout drill and tsunami evacuation that we did last October, and we did the October before, and it's been very successful, and we are gonna be doing it again now, where the groups are already starting to prepare for that and start getting everything going again for our October shakeout and tsunami evacuation drill. It was, first year we had a couple hundred people involved, and last year we had probably between 800 and 1,000 people that actually played the game with us and did that. So we're getting more and more involvement, so that'll be pretty fun to do.
Debbie, I saw some comments for Randy, and I saw one from Matt too. So,
I don't
maybe
take
start
comments.
with the one for Randy first, and then we'll go back to Aubrey. Can you read it?
Yeah. Randy, do you have any comments of the impact to local emergency response preparedness based on cuts to federal funding?
I think you answer that.
That answer,
Yeah.
already answered.
And then what's,
Aubrey, we have the draft agreement for, excuse me, review from Multnomah County for the MEN.
Oh,
health
yes, I
officer.
have it too. They CC'd me as well, so
Okay.
I know it's in there.
and then Matt has a comment?
And he needed to jump on a phone call,
Okay.
no significant update, they're busier than usual.
Okay.
And then no update for Justice Court.
Okay.
I do have a question for you, Randy.
Uh-oh.
Is your new contracted assistant gonna need the Taurus? Because my MDI might not wanna give it back.
You know, that's up negotiation, cash talks, a pass if I ever get arrested, you know, there's things like that we could probably work out with that. We
I
could probably,
believe she hand washed it. She sent me videos over the weekend and she was like, I really like this car.
really? She's very strange. Yeah, we can definitely figure something out. I don't wanna, yeah, I don't wanna, you know, it was due for the chopping block. I got it from Matt Kelly, and it's really was due to go to the junk pile, but we've kept it, and so we can always figure something out.
And there's
Yeah.
usually not a cost between departments, just saying.
We'll have to, we'll have to
50s.
talk about that.
But yeah, we'll figure it out. Maybe it'll be a joint vehicle since she's not using it continually, and if I have
Well,
somebody,
She is. She needs it all the time. We'll talk.
Okay,
For
yeah.
what it's worth, my MDI ended up with no car, which is not good when you have to actually respond to scenes. Cause her car got damaged and Randy was very gracious and let us borrow his car, cause I was like, what are we gonna do for 2 weeks? It was gonna
I
involve
like the
me having.
DA being in debt to me. I like this. I like it.
Alright, Sarah?
Okay, well, so
Oh, oh.
to round out the FEMA conversation, update on the BIOP and litigation. So we were scheduled to go to court at the end of May on the Pickums, which was that big December 1st implementation, a bunch of rule changes. FEMA reached out to our legal team and asked us if we would be willing to consider settling and working on an agreement and not going to court at the end of May. The judge agreed to a 60-day stay, and the settlement is now in negotiation for the entire state to look at the process that Molly, our attorney, and I came up with for Tillamook County, which was that court-door approach.
Bravo, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that
Wow.
and really, thank you.
Yes.
So we are currently working through that.
What approach would you use?
So so we came up with a fourth door, so they have the 3 pick 'em options.
Yes.
So FEMA's interested in that. And then we are scheduled to go back to court in October over the 2016 buyout, which is where all of these new regulations and those ESA requirements came from. With changes in administration, changes to different programs like the Endangered Species Act, FEMA is also interested in reconsidering the buyout that was written, how it was written. So we are also in talks with them about redesigning that process to look at what is appropriate for ESA compliance and what does that mean for Oregon. So really happy in the direction we're moving in, very relieved, and more to come on that. So that's my FEMA update. One of the other things, I cannot remember what this acronym stands for, but it's called BESA, B-E-S-A. So Tillamook County is not the only jurisdiction struggling for building inspection and plan review coverage. It's a statewide issue. The Building Codes Division has invited us to participate in a new program we've created that would allow us to share inspectors with other jurisdictions and also plan review services. And we've started shifting to electronic plan reviews, which means you put things in the cloud and then you know, go wherever you need them to. It's basically a flat hourly fee. So if our electrical inspector is gone, I can call Clatsop County and say, hey, do you have an electrical inspector available to help us cover? So it's not the big contract fees. We have two firms we've worked with over the last 5 years. One has already reached out to us and said, we're done, we're at capacity, we're losing staff too. The other company is saying we are significantly limited and all we can do is plan review services when you need them. So we are looking at this contract and we're sending it to Bill, but basically it's just an agreement. It's housed in the Building Codes Division and then we can pool resources statewide for whatever we need. So really excited about that. We had Chris Corliss start a couple of weeks ago, so he's come in as our new assistant building official. Thank you, Dawn, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Chris, for helping me interview him and going through that process. Super excited, sent the commissioners an email, I think Rachel, you were copied on that, saying please reach out to him and get to know him. I think he's just gonna do a great job. He's already bought a house here, which is awesome. And he's worked here before, so that's even better. I lost a planner. So I am down to 2 planners and I've continuously done planning work and losing a planner is devastating. So have a contract with a planning firm that's starting this week. We're starting out not to exceed 25,000. We'll see where it goes. The PAF has gone to HR. But with this and those 70 floodplain development permits submitted before that December 1st date, for the Pickens, many of those are still lingering because they're in various phases of completeness as we wait for applicants to get us information. I'm going to be doing some restructuring. I have one planner, Sheila, who is going to take all of the encounter appointments, all of the emails, all of the phone calls, all of the day-to-day, the type 1 stuff. Melissa and I will continue. It's a
Stop
Aubrey. And Melissa and I will continue to work on all of the land use stuff with this contract planner. What this means though is that we will not do appointments for permits on Fridays because I have to give Sheila a day to catch up on emails and phone calls. So we are actually, the appointments we offer on Fridays for permit submittals, we are putting elsewhere in the week. We will do inspections, our office will still be open, but I have to have a day just for catch up.
I have sort of changed my hours of this when I first started as DA to narrow my hours to the public to give my staff back that uninterrupted time and they love it. They get like an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, and then half a day on Friday. And they're like, it has been just huge.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm actually trying to avoid that. But I think we may be headed in that direction. Part of the challenge with Fridays is that's when all the second homeowners and everybody comes down, and that's when they want to be helped.
They can figure it out.
Right, so, but we are still doing inspections, everything else on Fridays, it's just that time consuming permit process. We will be adjusting that. Had a marathon housing work session meeting on last Thursday, because starting this week, all of the middle housing code updates start going to hearing. Rob hung in for that entire meeting on Thursday night, and bless him for it, it was awesome to have somebody there. He got to participate a little bit from the assessor's office, it was wonderful. Thank you, Chris, for also sticking it out and being there with us. So planning commission hearings start this Thursday, the board of commissioner hearings start the 23rd. And I'm trying to keep the board to 3 long hearings, and I'm chunking them up to the 23rd, October 22nd, and I've got the last date that we have to schedule.
And those are all evening.
Those are all right. The planning commission is at 7. I know the board does not want to start at 7, so those are 5:30. All at the Port of Tillamook Bay. We are doing the bulk in this first round. Oceanside and Neoconi are the 2 that are not in this first round. The Measure 56 notice for all of the Oceanside stuff, the building height reductions, all of that is going out this week. So I expect all of us to start getting a lot of phone calls and emails. Please direct those all to Sarah Thompson for emails. We've got a digital file already created, because these are not just housing updates, they are building height reductions and other things that impact property rights. That stuff can go to the Land Use Board of Appeals and be appealed to the state. And for due process, and to make sure that people are notified of the updates, if I don't get all the public comments, I can't make sure everybody's getting the notices. So we have a file created, you're gonna get a bunch of stuff, you already have started. Send them all to Sarah Thompson, and we're just gonna keep them, you'll see them back in the record when it's time for the hearings, and then we can properly notify everyone. And I think for me, those are the big things. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, Sarah, thanks for your work on FEMA. As you know, it'll probably affect what Parks does in a number of our boat launches, so really appreciate that. And we'll keep an eye on it as well. I have a lot of good news, actually. We had a very successful 4th. We were packed to the gills, but we had everything was fairly uneventful. We had some few people staying up and making a little bit more noise than usual, but that's to be expected. But certainly we didn't have any major incidents, so we're always happy when it's like that. Last week I attended virtually a Marine Board grant where they reviewed for applications for funding. Parks was on the list. We were very last on the list. The meeting lasted for 3 hours, but by the time they got to us, I think they were just tired of asking questions. So they voted to give us $100,000. So I imagine that the paperwork will follow, but that's for the NETART's improvement to the parking lot there, and we'll be very excited about getting that project moving forward. So I thought I'd share that with you. And thanks for all your help, whoever participated with that as well. Also, the NETART's County Park, there was a phase 1 update that has been completed just really in the last week or so with the putting up of basketball standards. We worked in hand with the community group that was there. They were wonderful, and together we got that project done. And I believe that there's a phase 2 that they want to move forward with at some point in the future. So we'll be guiding them through that process as well. The last thing I had on the list is that some of you got my phone calls on July 3rd, maybe July 2nd, that we had a sewer overflow at Webb Park. And we're like going, okay, well, so we got our water shut off. Hearts Camp was affected. We were affected. Of course, it was right before the 4th of July weekend. We're like going, really? And so we met out there with a number of folks from a variety of contractors on Thursday morning. We wanted very much not to have to tear up the road, and so we ended up we had tried for a couple of days to get hold of a firm called, or a company called DeWalt, who had the equipment that we needed to blow that line out. Nobody could get a hold of them. Finally, a friend of a friend of a friend, we were able to track somebody down, and we were able to get the lines blown out without having to dig. It came out a rock about this size was there, and at some point, what I understand is that road's got actually a variety of different size piping in it, from larger going down to smaller. We're like going, well, why? And maybe hopefully in the future we can rectify that. But it was bad news that it happened in the first place, but it was good news the way it ended. And it certainly didn't cost as much as I thought it was going to. So all of you who got phone calls to me, thanks for listening and providing the support, because I just wasn't sure where that was gonna go. So otherwise, besides that, I think that we're in good shape, and thank you.
All right, I wanted to thank everybody for their patience over the last 3 weeks or so as we did updates. We've updated 415 computers. We have 23 still to go that we know about. We expect to find a small number of computers that we don't have in assets at this point for whatever reason, but we got a far larger percentage than I had anticipated. So, but we will be reaching out to staff as we go to get those last few done. We have to have them all done by October, so plenty of time left, but I wanna have that done by the end of July so that we're not scrambling on making machines that have to be taken off the network because they're liabilities, so thank you for that. We do have one more thing coming. Verizon let me know that they're making a plan change. For once, it's actually a good thing. It's gonna save us $3 per line, and hotspots now are included, so some of our lines will save $8 a month. I asked multiple times because I don't trust Verizon generally. They've assured me that it's just a competitive plan change. It's not that there are no services that are being removed or anything. So generally a good thing. The one thing that they've warned us about is that some of the phones, when that change happens, could go into an SOS mode and require a restart. Once that restart's done, they're back up and running, no problem. So I actually have a meeting with Verizon today to discuss that, and we'll set a date for that. I'll let everybody know when that's coming, but a minor inconvenience, but it'll save us hundreds of dollars a month, so I think it's well worth that little bit of effort. Thank you.
Hey everyone, we are well underway with summer reading. We've had more than 550 kids and teens sign up so far, so that's pretty good. We'll still be signing folks up through the end of July, so I expect us to be at or better than last year's numbers. So I'm excited for that. We have had a great 4th of July. We did the declaration and the independence in the library park with the Library Foundation and TAPA. And I wasn't there, I was in the parades in Rockaway and Manzanita for the library, but watched video. It looked like it was a good time had by all.
Do they do that every year? That's the first time I've caught them doing that.
Yeah, this is year number 2, I think.
Oh, okay.
Either 2 or 3. And yeah, it's been each year they do it. We have a couple staff that come in and make sure that the building's opened up for the bathrooms, basically, and then the foundation and TAPA run the reading itself. So yeah, pretty good. I couldn't see in the video how many people attended, so I'm sure I'll hear from Ruth soon about that. But yeah, seemed like it went well. We also, and it highlights, I think, the library park is now largely finished. We need to do some work around the fountain that had been there previously, but otherwise I highly recommend coming and checking it out. It looks beautiful. I see people in that park regularly, so it's really activating that space in a positive way. For a while, we had some pretty it could get a little gnarly in that park at times, and so I'm happy to see happy people hanging out and providing a positive space there. And we'll have a number of events going on throughout the summer, so definitely come check it out.
Is it a space that people can reserve for things?
Yeah, we operate it like a community room essentially, so people can reserve it. We've done all kinds of events, like certainly within the county especially, we've done retirement parties there. I know birthday parties sometimes get booked around there,
Outdoor meetings?
outdoor meetings, yeah.
You can always go inside,
Yeah.
maybe both rooms, but.
Yeah,
like-
absolutely. I keep hoping some school will book it up to do a little outdoor play or something with the stage there, but so far not.
Yeah.
We're getting an agreement signed with the architecture and design firm through the Library Foundation for working on developing a design for the teen space. We're excited because we found a firm that was willing to work cheaply, work here, and work with teens. So they'll be working with teens at the Tillamook High School to think about what that space might look like. I think it'll be a great opportunity both for us to get the feedback from the teens so that they actually want to use the space, and then also for teens to see what that process looks like. So should be great. That'll start this fall. Then beyond that, we are getting ready to start planning around the bookmobile. We're working with a consultant who does consulting on a nationwide basis around bookmobiles because they're specialty vehicles. We want to make sure that we are investing wisely so that it lasts us a good amount of time and we're not just constantly off the road. So excited for getting that planning underway because that's a really fundamental part of how we serve a county of this size geographically. And excited to have a bookmobile that is not breaking down.
How old is the one? How old is,
I knew someone was gonna ask that, and I was just thinking about that. It's old. I'll get you the actual answer because I was just thinking about that.
I
It's
think
like
it's like 30 years old at least, right?
it's at least, I think it's like as old as the building because the garage was designed for it. So, which is now, now the next bus has to be designed for the garage. So, but I want to say that makes it 18 years old. I think, but I'll get you the number. And that's how it's going for us right now. HVAC, we're going to be looking to set up a contract to replace the HVAC system. So far, it's making it through this summer with a few tweaks here and there. So hopefully August isn't too hot.
Okay, unfortunately, the A&T funding bill did not pass, which was very disappointing because it's a lot of work that we put in for it not to happen. The A&T funding bill would have generated more revenue for our office by a 0.3% holdback from the taxing districts of property tax revenue. It would have increased the doc recording fee, and it would have been a, I believe, 10 million contribution from the state. However, Chair Nathanson, quote, said they want to consolidate our gains and help us move forward strongly into the interim conversations with designs on the short session. So the association right now, we're all taking about a week break and just kind of calm down and then
Take more than a week.
yeah.
A couple weeks.
So that was a bummer. The appraisal staff right now is working to meet the August 15th deadline to have all of our accounts worked, and by that I mean have all new construction put on the tax roll. After 8/15, we go into certification. It takes about a month and a half to certify the roll and get statements ready and prepared for October. We hired a new appraiser. She started last week. very excited about that, and we have a current posting for another appraiser. And I spoke to Rachel about this, when we get that additional appraiser, we will have run out of space. We don't have space for them unless I move out of my office or Rob and I knock down a wall and share an office. So trying to figure that out. I'm very excited to get another appraiser, but now just kind of how do I manage that? Where do I go? So I'm so interested in the space assessment. So we'll see what happens there. I have conference coming up in August and I'll be able to hang up my tax collector president hat. Free up some time, that's been a lot of work. This month I'm working on the summary of property tax collections, which is a report that's due to Department of Revenue. Summarizes the entire year of tax collections, it's due by August 1. We got our ratio study done and submitted timely. Ratio is our trending analysis, it's about 156 statistical analysis report. So we've submitted that, waiting to hear back from Department of Revenue. And for tax, we are done with the fiscal year and we ended at a collection rate of 97.70. Last year was 97.86, so about the same. And we have implemented mods on the tax side, which is manufactured home ownership document systems. So we are now processing title changes for manufactured homes in-house, which will generate more revenue for the county. I think I mentioned this last time and I mentioned it again. My staff is continually asking to use ChatGPT and AI, drafting emails, writing correspondence back and forth. And I know, Jeff, you had mentioned we're gonna have one with Microsoft, but I'm really excited about AI and where it could take our office. And I don't know if your staff is asking about it too, but I'm telling them can't use it for right now. If you wanna rewrite something, use your phone. I would really like the county to implement something with AI.
Jeff, do you wanna provide an update on that?
Yes, so, I believe it's the 23rd, I'm presenting our AI policy to the board. We're definitely moving ahead with that. ChatGPT, I think it's Gemini, Grammarly, and possibly one other, Microsoft Copilot are all on the pre-approved list when that passes. But yeah, at least once a month, I get somebody that reaches out to me and asking about it, and yeah, I'm very excited, and we need to move ahead because whether we allow it or not, I don't have any illusions that it's not already happening without approval. But we do need to move that ahead, get some people trained in understanding what we can and can't use it for, and address some of the risks that we have. But yeah, it is definitely something that we need to move ahead
And I
with.
will add in Jeff's defense, he has had this for several months and because of other priority issues with scheduling, we keep kicking him further back. So it's finally hitting an agenda, so.
Thank you.
Okay, online, Jackie said she didn't have anything. Joel? Josh? Okay. Justin, Chris told us you were gonna have something. Thank you, Justin. Marlene? Marlene. Sean? Thanks, Sean. Okay, Commissioner, looks like you're the lone one.
Just a quick update on, everybody's asking about Highway six. This morning I got asked about Highway six, especially with the ODOT bill, so just a couple of things. I attended the Northwest Area Commission on Transportation, new act, which is an advisory, basically advisory commission for ODOT for our region. Every region in the state has one. Last month, we had an engineer, ODOT engineer did a presentation, which I'm gonna try to arrange for us to have here, and I'm gonna make sure everybody knows about it, cause it was fascinating to kind of understand the engineering behind Highway six and what's happening. So that'll be worth either coming in person or logging on and looking at, but, so some of the things that happened here, I'll back up and just talk about, I was in Salem at County College at the last day of the session on that Friday, and that big, beautiful ODOT bill, that was $1 billion, which AOC, the Associated Oregon Counties, supported, and that's who puts on the county college. But there are many counties that weren't really in favor of that. It was a huge tax increase. It did increase gas taxes, but Tillamook's unique, and I think Chris has talked about this, where they count registrations of cars, and half the houses in Tillamook County, people live outside the county, so their cars are registered outside the county. Now, there's a special fund for small counties, but Tillamook kind of gets stuck because we're in this unique situation, right? So we are, which is why we partially fund our roads with TLT. But this big, beautiful, I call it that because it was ridiculous. Didn't have a single project for Tillamook County or any of Suzanne or Zasaris's district. So it had nothing for us, and Suzanne Weber, Senator Weber, called me that day because she had been trying to negotiate, because they wanted her vote and needed her vote as a Republican, something for Tillamook, and they basically locked the legislatures out of discussing this, and they said, we're not changing anything, the bill, it's gonna fund the bill, basically it was funding mostly projects that were already half completed, so no new projects were being included. So it was I felt it was a horrible bill. It ended up failing that day. It was really a bunch of drama, which I got to see behind the curtain, which was scary, but it failed. And then they introduced another bill, which was 3402. 3402 was like the reaction to them not being able to get everything they wanted, and then they cut out the percentages for counties to get any money. So all the money would go to ODOT, and there'd be no oversight for ODOT. So it was a lose-lose for every county. So at that point, which was interesting, at County College, we have a room full of commissioners from every county, pretty much, I think it was 24 of us. We basically stormed the Capitol, went to the hearing, they were having a hearing at 3:45, and we all went and we filled that room up. And they wouldn't come in, the senators would walk into the room and they would see us and they'd walk out. The governor showed up, she was in the hallway trying to politic and trying to twist arms to get this thing pushed through. I had to leave at 6 because we had a dinner for our graduation, but we had 4 of our commissioners stay there to testify. And as you all know, it did fail. It failed by them failing to do a procedural change. They wanted to waive the third reading of the bill. So it failed by a procedural vote, but that was a horrible bill as well. But neither one of them really benefited Tillamook County, would you agree, Chris?
Yeah, the original one, as with the mega tax hike, would have given us about $2 million. My annual operating budget's $5 million.
Right.
So that was, if it would have passed in that original first one, would have been a huge increase for us, but yeah.
It was a huge increase, but it was also for our elderly and people on fixed incomes, it was a huge tax increase too.
Right.
There was that part of it. That's why AOC supported it, because it was really beneficial to county financially, revenue wise. But individually, it was pretty harmful. Anyway, they're gonna have an emergency session. I talked with Senator Weber and Representative Javidi at the parade in Cloverdale on Saturday, and they're expecting it soon, and hopefully there'll be some common sense in that bill and it won't cut out. So to go back to the Northwest Area Commission on Transportation, NUAC, part of ODOT's response and the state's response is now they're not gonna pay for the facilitation of that group anymore. So that group's lost power over years, but now they're not even gonna pay for that, so now, but what happened at that meeting was interesting. I had gone the month before and I had pleaded my case. ODOT had their engineer, I pleaded my case for, I do have Washington County sitting at the table now since the road is in their county where the most damage is. But what happened at that meeting was Betsy Johnson, God bless her, still shows up at these things and was able to, with her abilities of basically directing that group. They were looking at projects to put before ODOT and they realized the only project that mattered was Highway 6. So even if it's the last breath of this commission, their last recommendation is gonna be fix Highway 6, or at least find funding. And of course, the big push for me is funding for engineering and planning, so that when we do finally get some federal money, cause it'll take that, it's gonna be over $100 million. But we can't just sit still, so I wanted to give that update. NUAC will probably continue on under under Colpack, which is another group. But anyways, that's the update on Highway 6. It's finally on people's lips, they're finally talking about it. Senator Weber fought hard this session trying to get it on in that bill, and I thank her for that. Also, the TLT died in committee, and that died because of policy, because of politics, not policy. My understanding is they had the votes on the Senate floor if it made it there, but there was a problem between two representatives. Again, seeing behind the curtain of what happens in Salem is really interesting, where all the hard work proponents and opponents put into that fight for that bill came down to two politicians not agreeing with each other, and the chair leaving Salem, which stalled that bill. Now that bill was threatened to be reborn or resuscitated to try to get the big tax bill cut. So there's a lot of politicking going on Friday. It was really interesting, but TLT's dead, that one, which is devastating for this county. Good news is they will push it forward in the short session. Because it's revenue neutral for the state, it can be heard in a special session. I'm having discussions with people on the opposition side, Orla, ACFA, and we're talking about like figuring out what kind of bill does it need to be to pass, and maybe it just needs to be those counties that are true 70-30 counties that are really struggling, and maybe leave the rest of the state out of it. So I'm hopeful that what appears in the next special session will be something that will pass pretty easily. So to me, that's good news and optimistic, but we're still fighting through. Talking about ordinances, the sheriff worked on a fireworks, and Matt presented me with a fireworks ordinance. But it was too late to try to get considered for July 4th, but hopefully by the end of the summer, hopefully soon we'll get it before us. We have a fireworks ordinance in county parks, which bans all of them. And then the state has one, which is just too expensive. And so this ordinance will be reasonably priced. All of our new ordinances will have, at least that's what we're proposing, basically a presumptive fine, a minimum and a maximum. And those are, and if Judge Cannell's listening, those are guardrails so that the Justice Court has to consider and can't just reduce it to $10. So that one is, I'm working on a noise ordinance. This has been something this county's been working on for, I don't know, 25 years.
Yes.
30. It's very difficult. I met with a constituent, she caught me walking my dog and was wanted to know, and I said, we're working on it. I explained to her that it's hard because it's easy to say in a county park, because it's our property. We own it, but when you're telling somebody to be quiet in their own house or yard, there's a big consideration there, and you have to be really careful how you craft that. So she understood that. And parking day use, we're gonna start seeing more of that because we have authorized overtime for the enforcement of parking and day use, and a couple of deputies are very excited about doing that. One of the things they are asking me, and I was gonna talk to Chris and Dan about, was some increased signage, especially in eTarts. So maybe we can have a discussion offline about how we can make that happen and make, I don't wanna dig into the 100,000, but that's something that TLT could be considered for new signage. Just so they can write tickets. Like I said, I live in Etarts, that parking lot is full of restaurant people that aren't paying a penny, so we'll talk to you guys about that. I think that's all I got. I just basically, those two things have been things I've been focusing on for the TLT and the ODOT. So that's all I got.
Okay. That is it for our agenda. Any other comments? We're next scheduled to meet August 4th.
Excellent, great.
Okay, we got half hour back. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, you know, we just have to sign in, check.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.